Good afternoon everybody, Calm Biker here. Just following on from a vlog I've just recorded. I've just pulled in to check my camera lens for dead things and to quickly check the list of questions for Suffolk Amy's Questions Volume 2. So like the last video I did, this is 5 questions that Amy's set for motovloggers to answer. And as I laughingly categorise myself as a motovlogger, I'm going to answer these ones as well. So without further ado, let's go on to question 1, what I has memorised. Question 1 is, if you could go back into history and talk to anybody, dead or alive, who would it be? And this is a really good question. Really good question, this one. And I thought about this one for a while because there are so many. Now, those of you who know me a bit know I'm a sciencey person, so I'm certainly not artistic, but I'm a sciencey technology person. And I was thinking, really, all right, I'll slow down, flashy sign. I was thinking, really, it would have to be a scientist, and the obvious ones are people like Einstein, Newton. But I thought, actually, the one that could be the most interesting, I think, would be Darwin. Now, Darwin's a bit controversial, especially, I believe, in America. But Darwin, of course, the major theory that everybody knows is the evolution theory, natural selection, survival of the fittest, and all that kind of stuff. And Darwin came up with a theory just by looking and observing animals and plants and species, obviously. Came up with this theory that has stood the test of time in the large, in the main. There are areas that were wrong, that have since been updated, so the theory has changed. But in the main, the theory has been tested and works. I choose my words very carefully. People band about the word theory a lot. Yeah, people say, oh, it's just a theory. Well, yeah, well, you don't understand the scientific meaning of a theory at that point. But I'm choosing my words very carefully. A theory is not necessarily a fact, it's just the best description of our knowledge at the time. And this is why I think it would be fascinating to go back and talk to Darwin. Firstly, it'd be easier to talk to him than it would be to talk to Einstein. I think. But I think Darwin, you'd be able to go back and talk to him about things that we now know that he didn't know then. So I think he would be amazed at the mapping of the human genome and the massive evidence that genetics adds to the theory of evolution by natural selection. So I think you could actually have something to tell him, as well as him have a lot to tell you. So that's a really good opening question, I think. Question number 2 then. Question number 2 was, I hope I've got this right, was if you only had the choice, not of one bike, but of one type of bike for the rest of your life, what type of bike would it be? Now, I know the answer. This one's easy for me, but I need to qualify this in a few ways. Firstly, I want to know what Suffolk Amy is planning, because this sounds a little bit dictatorship. Are you planning on taking over, Amy? And again, you can't do a worse job than the lot we've got in at the minute. Oh, politics, no, shouldn't go there. But it does sound a bit totalitarianism. But I can only have one type of bike. So let me qualify it a second time. Well, I'll answer it actually, and then I'll qualify it a bit more. It's this type of bike. It's the naked. It's the pure riding pleasure. There's nothing on this bike really that doesn't need to be here. So essentially, it's like the designers, I've said this before, it's like the designers have said, get all the basic bits we need, somewhere to stick the petrol, gearbox, engine, something to steer the wheels with, and the wheels of course. But what else do you need? Well, not a great deal, so that'll do. Let's just stick with that. We don't need no fairings, we don't need no luggage. You know, let's just make it the pure thing. That's why on this video you'll probably not see much of the bike at all, apart from when I look down, because I have to look down to see the mirrors. Because my eye line's kind of here, because of the chin guard on the helmet. That's about all I can see. I can't see the speed, I can't see the mirrors without going like that. I can't see any of the lights. It's just pure. It's almost like, if I lean like that, even the mirrors go out my periphery. It's almost like flying. It's wonderful. But hopeless if you want to go on holiday on it. But I do need to qualify it, because I don't think that I'll be able to ride this bike when I'm kind of 70 or 80 years old, assuming I live that long. I've already got a creaky knee where I had a cruciate ligament removed. I've already got a creaky shoulder that I broke when I was doing my little off-roading course. And I've already got a creaky wrist that I broke at school, where I found out what it was like to rest your hand on your own elbow, and I don't mean on the other arm. And I've got other creaky bits that I've broken over the years. I am pretty accident prone, it seems. Why the heck I thought it was a good idea to learn to ride a motorbike, I don't know. So I don't think I'm going to be able to ride this type of bike forever. And under Amyism and the totalitarianism, or totalitarian state that is the Amy Communist Party, I jest, I'm not going to be able to ride this type of bike where I'm hunched up forever. Certainly sports bikes, way out of my ability to be that crunched up for that amount of time. So I want to know, do the classics count? Because they've not got fairings and all that kind of stuff either, have they? Do they count? Can I get a bike that I've actually been looking at recently as a project, a CB404, can I have that counting as a naked 2, please? Or can I get a pass? I think all motor vloggers should get a pass. You should have 2 types of bike if the classics don't come under the same type as the naked. Right, I need to find somewhere to stop to find out what question 3 was, because I've forgotten. Okay, question number 3. Who is your favourite bike racer, motorbike racer of all time? I'm assuming it's motorbike racer. In my little note, I only put bike racer. It's them two. No, it's not them two. I didn't really get into bike racing for quite a long time. I've always been somebody who followed Formula 1 from a very, very young age, from probably 5 years old. So it's a tricky one for me to answer that. I have memories of Barry Sheen, but I wouldn't say that I was ever a fan because I wasn't into racing at that time. I'm a big fan of Guy Martin now. I really enjoy watching MotoGP at the minute. I'm not a fan of Lorenzo, I don't really like him. I like Cal Crutchlow's attitude. I like watching Rossi and Marquez go for it, and I really like Marquez. Again, for the attitude, there's a man that he just seems happy all the time. Unlike the Formula 1 guys, the top Formula 1 guys, you think, anyway, you're a top Formula 1 guy, you're getting paid £1 million and £1.5 million a race, tens of millions of pounds a year, you've got all that glamour, all that excitement, and you walk around with a face like a slapped arse. So it's a difficult one for me to answer of who's my favourite. In terms of linking the two things together, I have to say one person that I have a lot of admiration for would be John Surtees. The ability to have won both championships, 2 wheels and 4, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And he seems like a lovely chap. So I'm going to put in John Surtees for that one, but really it's nip and tuck. Question 4 was again back to the totalitarian Amyism. and it's now the last ride of your life. Where would you want to do it? I say this is totalitarianism again. I'm assuming this is very Logan's Run, and Amy's decided that in her Amyism state, that at a certain point, euthanasia is the only option because of overpopulation, something like that. That's all I can imagine. Correct me if I'm wrong. But where would you go for your last ride? Now, I just love riding anywhere. I'm really non-committal on all of these questions, aren't I? I'm pretty hopeless at this, aren't I? But I just enjoy riding. I don't really care where. I don't really care what type of roads. I just love riding. But seeing as I'm clearly going to be put to death at the end of this ride, I'm going to say a world ride, around the world tour on a very reliable bike. I don't want to thinking just because it's conked out that's it, and bang, there's somebody following me around with a gun or anything like that. So, round the world tour. I don't fancy India, if I'm honest. I've seen some vlogs from India, or at least some riding in India, and it looks blooming terrifying. But I think it was India where they had that 50cc scooter with about half a dozen people on it and a baby hanging off a plank of wood in a bucket. Well, they've got some faith in other people's abilities, haven't they? But yeah, if it's my last ride, I want it to be a good long one. And the final question was, what is the worst job you've ever had? Now, I've been really lucky, I think, in my jobs. I've mainly worked in computing. I started out as a software trainer, then I went into support, repair, and then finally software development, because software development had been my hobby from a young age, from getting a Spectrum, or rather my brother getting a Spectrum and me being allowed to use it occasionally when I was about 11 or 12 years old, and I used to start doing a bit of programming on it. And all of those jobs have been good ones, really. There's always been bits that I don't like. I mean, it doesn't matter what job you do, there's always going to be bits you don't like, even if you're a Formula One driver. See the way I meshed the topics together there? You almost think I planned this, but I haven't. Tell you how much I've planned it, I've forgotten what I was saying. Oh yeah, so, the job. So the worst job. I think the worst job probably that I'd have to say would be when I was a student and I worked at the IMO car wash. And the job really was taking money off people, pressing the buttons for which car wash they'd asked for. But the worst part was dealing with the pre-wash bit. So everybody got a pre-wash, and the pre-wash was either we had this giant bucket full of cold, soapy, horrible water and a broom. So for your basic pre-wash, you would have to lift up the windscreen wipers on the car, front and back, dip your broom in the nasty water, and give the windscreen and the rear windscreen a wipe over, because the brushes on the car wash wouldn't get those bits. And then you'd give the number plate and bits and pieces, things that the brushes wouldn't get, that you knew would come out dirty and the customers would only grumble at you. You'd give those a wash with a broom. Not that they get particularly clean, but it would dislodge the dirt at least. The second part, for people who had a bit more money to spend, I think it was 60 pence extra, was a wheel wash, and this was the bit that was really quite horrible. Now, bearing in mind you're doing this for about 10 hours a day, for I think I was paid £1 an hour, so it might have been £1.50. You know, it was a pittance anyway. It was horrible work for rubbish money, but you needed something to buy your books with back then. You didn't have loans and things. So the wheel wash bit, you had a little spray gun, like a pressurised spray gun, one of them where you kind of pump up the top. He's going to think I was calling him a name now, isn't he? Sorry. You pump up the top and spray it, and in there was a wheel cleaner. and it would come out as a fine mist onto the wheels, and some of it would always blow back into your face, and you'd get it in your eyes and on your skin, and it was horrible. It was an acid, and it would really make your eyes sting when you got it in there. And of course you were doing this all day, so you would finish the day with skin that was all cracked, eyes that were sore and painful and horrible, and it was just generally unpleasant. And then the second part of that job would be to get the steam cleaner out, which is like a big jet wash, but jet wash steam rather than cold water at high pressure, and wash the acid off the wheels and clean the wheels at the same time. Now, when you did that, invariably some of that water would end up all over you, and you would get that fine mist would soak you through. So you'd, as well as having cracked skin and sore eyes, you'd also be wet. And we used to do this summer and winter. I remember doing this in a foot of snow where we had to clear the snow out the way, and people were still coming in and getting the cars washed even though it was snow. Absolutely ridiculous, but there we were doing it. And it was a pretty awful job, as I say, pretty awful pay. Luckily there were some real nice people who'd come in and buy the top wash, the works as it was called, which was £2.40, and they'd give you a fiver and say keep the change, and you're thinking that's 2.5 hours extra money, that is. That's great. So you get that extra money. They would get the best wash going. So that's question 5. So thank you for those questions again, Amy. Good questions those. I shall look forward to volume 3. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon.